Now to the former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. As you know, on this show, and we've been around for a while, we have gone on the full journey, as I said before, from him as a shadow minister to multiple ministries through to the Prime Ministership and after the 2022 election. We've been there on the day after the 2019 election. We, of course, have done pub tests with him on the Central Coast and in Brisbane and a rather famous one in Townsville that we'll get to in a moment or two's time. We've spoken to him at Kirribilli House, at all of the offices. He has been very generous with his time to give us the inside run on how his Prime Ministership was working, because on this program, we let him speak. We let him answer the questions however he wishes, but we actually give him the time to answer, as opposed to much of the rest of the media that, because of, let's be generous there, time constraints, you end up sending 2 seconds or half a second or what somebody else interprets about what he said. We also were able to be there as Australia was being honoured by the United States at the White House, and for this little bogan, that was quite the experience of being able to meet the President of the United States. The photo still stays here in the man cave each and every night just to send lefties crazy. Best selfie ever. And I'm pleased to say that after announcing that in February he will formally step down as the member for Cook, that the place that he decided to speak first to, and here on television, and most importantly, not to me, but to you, is the former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. G'day, mate.
Hey, Paul.
Lovely to see you.
Good to see you, mate. And g'day to everybody watching tonight. It's great to come here and finally be in the man cave.
Finally be in the man cave.
We've never had an interview here.
Yeah, done the White House, done everything.
We've been everywhere.
Finally, the man cave, it's ticked off.
Here we are.
We'll talk about our experience and all of that in a second, but let's deal with, for those that are desperately trying to write an article in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Why today? Why now?
Well, it's been just over 18 months since the last election. And during that period of time, I've enjoyed getting back home, Jen and the family back at our family home in the Shire. And I've had a great opportunity to get around my local electorate again and to say thank you to a lot of people and to re-engage with them. My electorate in the Shire and Southern Sydney, because it takes in those southern parts on the other side of the Georges River, have been so amazingly supportive of me over my entire time in Parliament. And your first job, whether you're a Prime Minister, a Treasurer, or anything else, is you're the member for, and my fortuitous case, the member for Cook. It's a place I love. It's where my daughters have been growing up. It's where I go to church. It's where I love the place, as you know, and of course the home of the Mighty Sharks. And it's been good to do all that, but at some point you need to make some decisions about what you're going to do longer term. And I've sort of come to that view over the last, several months, the last 6 months or so. And some great opportunities have come forward at the end of Parliament last year. And I've had a good opportunity to promote what Australia's been doing, particularly in AUKUS. I mean, AUKUS was a massive agreement, and particularly in the United States and the UK, it is well understood. And I've spent quite a bit of time in the last 18 months promoting AUKUS, promoting the fact that it's bipartisan, which is really important, and have worked with the government to that extent, because it's something that is beyond any one government, any one Prime Minister, and it'll be there like the ANZUS has been there for 70 years. So we've got to that point. The opportunity is now. I can move on. I can say thank you. And one of the reasons I wanted to come on tonight, I know many people have been watching us talk for a long time. You've been terribly supportive. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I really just wanted to come on tonight and say thank you for all that support for Australians who sustained us through some pretty difficult times that we had in this country, particularly, from stopping the boats to standing up to China.
Well, and this is the thing, right, where I was thinking about, look, again, you know where the rest of the media is going to go and how they're going to interpret your time in office and where it goes from here. But you did stop the boats. You did the tax cuts for that, of course, we'll talk about.
Stage 3.
Yeah, we'll have a chat about that in a
policy.
second. For businesses, for workers.
Yeah.
There were, of course, the instant asset write-off when it comes to small business. I really like that. It's a very small policy. No one's going to really particularly
Joe Hockey started that, But we carried it on, Josh and I,
and particularly when you push it up to 120, I thought that was great. Obviously, standing up to China came at a price, and we all know the multifaceted ways of all of those things. 40,000 lives is how many people were saved based off those early predictions of what was going to happen. You've had the multiple royal commissions into things like, I was just looking at this before, again, aged care, veterans, disability, banks. And most importantly, of course, it's been about faith and family and pride in our country. I just wanted someone somewhere to be able to say that list of things. but give us an idea about what you're planning between now and, say, that final speech. Are you going to be one of those people who stands there and lists every single thing and on the second Tuesday and then I did this and then I did that? Or is it going to be, between now and that time, an opportunity to have a broader reflection?
I think the major opportunity I got between now and then is just to keep saying thank you.
Right.
And that was my overwhelming feeling actually on the night of the last election. Jenny and I were driving across for our last trip in that capacity across the bridge, and we were both just overtaken with this sense of gratitude. Yes, of course, we were disappointed, naturally, at a massive contrast to just 3 years before in the elation of that. But it is a great privilege to serve your country. And to be able to do it as a Member of Parliament, as a Minister, as a Treasurer and as a Prime Minister, if you get that opportunity. And so I'm just enormously grateful. You let all the extent there's bitterness, you let it go. You let all of those things go. I'm sure there's things that people will need to forgive me for, and I'll forgive them. You just don't carry these things around for you and you look forward. We live in the best country in the world. Like to keep it that way, and there's plenty of great people from the Liberal Party and the Nationals who can be there to help that. I have no doubt plenty in the Labor Party who want to achieve the same thing. And so saying thank you, Paul, is the main thing. Yeah, there'll come a time, and I participated in the program that Chris put together here at Sky. There'll be another one coming up in another with another broadcaster. But others will reflect on that. It's never been something that's really driven me. Teddy Roosevelt is a great hero of mine. He used to talk about, I'm one of those ones who, was on the field. I know who've known victory and defeat. Not one of those timid souls who've known neither, and just looks on from the outside. So, saying thank you and being appreciative and being respectful.
I think most people's brains would explode with paranoia when inevitably somebody's writing the headline right now. Yeah. ScoMo compares himself to Teddy Roosevelt in interview on Sky News.
Which I didn't.
No, of course not. But I'm saying
he's inspired me.
That's the point of what we're trying to talk about here, is that most people's brains just would explode on how things are presented. Yeah. And we talked after the election, but now we've got even more time to ask that question, which is, in the day-to-day, you've got to be involved, you've got to see, you've got to read, you've got to see the feedback, you've got to see what's working and not working. Were there moments when it was frustrating, like it was to every other normal human being? Of course. And you went, this is unfair, but then sometimes if there was a big hit, you went, yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
look, that is political life. And political life, my Chief of Staff used to say, I don't know where he picked up the quote from, maybe it was original. He said, but if you want fair, don't go into politics. And that's not a whinge, that's just a reality. And so if you don't like what happens in there and you get a hard time and people say untrue things about you, well, yeah, that's going to happen. I wish it happened less, and it should never sort of impact on your family and things like that, and that should always be a no-go zone, having a go at what people do with their families. But, it still happens. But, no, you can't complain about the field you're on. You choose a life in public service in politics, and that's going to come with some slings and arrows. The key thing is, and look, my faith informs me a lot on this, is you don't carry it around with you for the rest of your life. And so you ask me why now? Well, now is a good opportunity. I'm really pleased to see Peter Dutton and the team, Susan Lee and the whole, with the Nats and so on, doing really well. They are holding this government to account. Haven't come on here to have a partisan discussion tonight, really, but, they're doing a great job. And they've come through some difficult times. Peter has shown, I think, tremendous leadership since the last election. I've been thrilled to be able to give him my support behind the scenes and in front of the scenes as well. And to mentor some of the new ministers, shadow ministers are coming through. A number of them said to me last year, particularly, look, it'd be great if you hung around a little longer, and I was happy to do that. But at some point, locally, while I've enjoyed the time locally, a new candidate needs to be selected by the Liberal Party, and I've given them plenty of time now to go and do that process properly. And I look forward to them putting someone forward for the by-election when it comes who can have that passion and long-term commitment that I certainly took to the job over 16 years ago.